better about making sure we can actually tell what because Townsend's was
initials,
lost
I know.
for like a month last year because they thought it was someone else's and they gave it to somebody else. So.
Honestly,
Yeah.
It was hard to figure out whose they were, and I don't. That's probably
So at least first name or something.
Yeah,
Or
it was
initials
suggested
if
we
they're
put-
really legible. But
It was suggested we put Veronique's like a V if it's
Oh,
her class, so
okay.
their name and then a V. So at least we can divide them by class first, and then
Yeah.
we only have a third as many kids. So you're pulling a handle. That's something that's relatively easy to teach a kid. It does take practice, but then you just pull it off and then you fasten it to your piece. And spouts are the same way. If you have a
so they score it first and then fasten it. Is that better?
yeah, they score it, put a little bit of water, and they do
And
have
then
to
put
fasten
water
it really well. so it
because they
doesn't
want to make
come
sure
off.
it's really
Yep. So if you have a vessel and you want it, this is a cool thing I love learning. Let's just pretend I have a larger vessel, but this is the top of it, and I don't want it to drip when I pour out of it. The thing you need to know is if this part that pours is more than 90 degrees from here to here, it won't drip. So any pictures you have at home drip like your coffee thing, it's because this is less than 90 degrees from where the coffee comes out to where the spout tips around. Because as soon as you tip it, there's no drip. It goes the way the rest of the liquid is going. So you're welcome to teach kids that if you want to. The spout goes on the other end. Then there's two really functional things that have been around for thousands of years that people have been using, and makes it functional and useful for them. And it's not hard to do. If they want to make a set of 3, nesting things that can do that. Okay, now we're done with that class. They've made their thing, and then they don't see it for at least 2 weeks because they say 3 to 4 days to dry and about 6 to 8 days to get through the firing process and back to them. So the last class is going to be colors. So they won't recognize their piece when it comes back, and that's the most important thing to tell them. Is it's not going to be the same color as when it went in. It's probably not going to be quite the same size. So you're going to have to look really hard for your piece. And it's like this clay was this color when it went into the kiln, so they're not going to recognize it.
Changes a lot.
So they're going to have to look on the bottom, and then when they go to paint, the same thing about paints. I wish I had a paint sample of everything that's over there, but this is in one of those, and so they can't look at the color in there. Generally, it's going to become brighter.
Yeah.
And they need to put 2 coats on anything that they don't want to show
We'll make
through.
some samples. Let's
I
go
can't
through
remember
and
what
paint.
we used for
We used to have.
for the containers for the children.
You won't be able to fire them.
They change color when you fire them.
We could probably go get it fired somewhere.
Think so?
Oh yeah,
Do you want to head that up?
maybe.
I got plenty
Don't
of
commit
time.
yet.
Think about that.
We
We used to have example plates.
Yeah, I thought we did.
We'll look through here.
Of the different stages
I did
How it looks after it's fired.
Oh, okay.
And how different it looks from.
before. Yeah.
Okay, so my color and texture. Color and texture kind of go together. So I was going to talk about texture before we fire, because talking about after fire doesn't make any sense. So let them know they can decorate. I mean, embellishment has been around even in the most functional things. So they all do that naturally. Just remind them that they can make little balls and stick them on the outside. They have to be less than a half an inch thick. Anywhere on any of the pieces has to be less than a half an inch thick. So that's
going to be tough.
That's the
I
thickest.
just remember it was really challenging just to get them to smooth it out or work the cracks out. I mean, some of it was, I don't know, I was in Veronique's class.
Well, when we did those are different because they're not. When we did the ones last year that were shapes, like the birds and the.
You did flat
We went
ones.
through and just helped them to smooth the edges so they weren't
Yeah.
sharp.
Yeah.
But they did a good job as far as knowing, to put their own stamp on it or whatever they wanted to do.
Well,
And
we
I
were there
think
for the bird
having-
project.
yeah.
I wasn't.
Something like this to pass around.
Yeah.
A lot of kids are under the impression when they stick it in the kiln, it's going to get soft and all the edges are going to become round, kind of like glass when it gets hot. So if you have this and you can show them, look,
Yeah.
that's going to be kind of sharp, you can change that though. All you need is a little bit of water now, but you can't change it once it's in the kiln. I don't know. Some kids get it and some
They
don't.
did, yeah. They had a sample like that, and they were and they,
Well,
and
and
they
some
were
kids
really
get overwhelmed.
showing
like
us
they
to
understand
make
it,
sure.
but we don't want them to feel like
Yeah.
Well, I
they're
think that
unsuccessful.
that's something we have to help them though. Like, okay,
Yeah.
that's going to be really sharp. Is that, and just show them how or even help them actually do it, just to smooth the edges. Oh, it's like, where am I? Because if they see it and feel it, it's like, oh, yeah.
else? What am I missing?
And that one is smooth. See the difference in the two.
I wanted to leave the actual assignment really open. I mean, they can make a vessel for anything. Some of them are going to make pencil holders, and some of them are going to make, something I haven't dreamed of yet. But I didn't want to tell them they all had to make a plate, or they all had to make a specific.
Yeah. Well, the vessel's pretty broad. I mean, that could be.
Any other
And
ideas?
you might need more specific parameters with the younger folks.
Sure.
Maybe in the older class, like, that's going to seem awesome to them. They can make whatever they want, but maybe a first or second grader, or even just a
Give
kiddo who
examples.
just needs more structure.
Yeah. Well, and kids work differently once they're working completely tactily too. It's amazing when you put something like this in a kid's hand, how their brain changes and they're thinking differently.
I guess if you give examples of things, like
Exactly.
a mug,
Yeah.
or
Some
if you give a
ideas,
few
yeah.
ideas out there, just so they aren't just
Yeah.
like, how am I gonna make
Yeah,
it?
well,
If it
they get
scares
almost
them.
like writer's block where
When
it's too
sometimes
much possibility.
it's right, and
Yeah.
they'll spend half the time
Yeah.
almost fretting over that of
Yeah.
all the possibilities.
But if there's a few ideas that
As
they
they
can,
get older,
Well, that's
definitely.
why I thought
especially
introducing
school,
in the
they're
first
better at being
class.
creative
They are
at some
better.
I
things.
thought in the first class if we could introduce what it is they want to hold, then they're thinking about that thing and how that thing fits.
Yeah.
And when you
around
say
the-
first class, are we talking about the
the
modeling clay
oil
one?
clay, yeah. the
Okay,
modeling
oil
clay
clay.
class.
Okay.
So yeah, there's a lot of things to do in that first class, and it's get acquainted with 3 dimensions, get acquainted with color, get acquainted with texture, and figure out what you'd like to hold.
Mm-hmm.
How much time do you have to get into the class and spread plastic and?
I know Veronique's class is right after recess, so we usually have 10 or 15 minutes.
And Maryland's is at the same
11.
time, you said?
No,
Is
this
at the
is
same
9.
time?
Oh, Maryland's
Maryland's is Jill's is at
Jill's
9.
is at 9.
Marilyn and Veronique's are both at 11.
Well, okay, because the elders can always help set up their areas.
And we
And
can
you
set
could
up while they're
come
at
at-
recess.
you
And
could
actually,
come before.
the setup
You
isn't
could
as
come
big a
at
deal as the
8:30.
cleanup. Cleanup for this is disastrous, so,
But we did it with the printing, so we can.
yeah.
Yeah, if you could
What?
master
No,
it,
when you're
you could
firing
continue
them,
that.
I was talking to Leanne earlier, and she